A long, slow snow eventually piles up a foot on the plains, 9 inches at the airport, about a half a foot for most of the metro area. The trouble with school closures is that they're closed when they should be open, or they're open when they should be closed, and they announce it too early or too late. Other than that, everyone's satisfied. Denver closes most of its cold weather warming centers because of cold weather. The state releases a new report saying nonprofit hospitals are hoarding money and not keeping up their end of the bargain for not paying taxes. And we'll jump on a fat bike and tool around town to see how everybody's getting around, slowly and creatively. Glad you're warm and at home and watching next. The snow came, just took its time. We ended up with the second largest January snow totals in 30 years in Denver. Bit more than 9 inches at the airport, about 6 for most of the metro area. And the real nasty business is out east. As of 5 o'clock, DIA had tallied 9.1 inches of snow, most for a January storm since 1992, when the city got more than 14 inches of snow. The storm definitely came up short of expectations on the west side of town, which is also where it's predicted to be the lightest. Eastern Colorado at this point is pretty well shut down. In some areas, they have a foot of snow and strong winds. That's not eastern Colorado because there are no mountains in eastern Colorado. We should tell you that I-70 is closed from 470 to the Kansas border due to a crash near Strasburg. We were showing you crashes up in the mountains there, west on 70. Out east, 9 semis and a dozen other vehicles crashed. And CSP says they don't have a time frame to reopen that road. Could be morning. They're not recommending other routes because those are a mess too. Part of I-76 and various state roads in the northeast corner of Colorado are also closed. Denver has got 15 of those baby plows out right now. The pickups with the plows on the front trying to take a layer of snow off of the side streets, and a new shift of those went out this afternoon. City's trying this approach after the storm a few weeks ago where they didn't do the side street plowing, and we ended up with miles of ice rinks that still have not melted. The baby plow program is voluntary overtime for city workers who are out in 12-hour shifts.
It's one of those things where, you have to be on call, and so you have to be willing to kind of stop what you're doing if it's on a weekend, a holiday, and be ready to jump in a plow. So it's really a dedicated group of folks who are willing to just kind of do that.
The city says there is another shift of baby plow drive. That sounds weird. They're full-grown people, not infants, full-grown people who are operating the baby plows. There's another shift of those people that will go out at 3 a.m. School districts across the metro area made some fairly early calls to cancel school today, giving staff and parents a heads up last night. Each district makes that call knowing that it's going to relieve some people and anger others, and that the longer they wait, the more pressure that's going to put on employees and families. Nusha Royce here with a look at how the state's largest district handles this whole predicting the future business.
Yeah, and you know what? Timing is such a big factor in all of this. And I asked the district if they'd waited until this morning to decide whether to close or not, if their decision would have been different here in Denver, and they said potentially, but the district wants to give parents more of a heads up, more than a 5 a.m. notice that you need to figure out your child care. Same goes for their teachers and their staff. So they're really following closely forecasts, what their transportation facilities can handle. Can kids get to and leave school safely, and the impacts down to a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. At the end of the day, though, they know the weather here is so finicky, so they know there are going to be times that they cancel classes earlier, then the storm rolls in. It's a bust. It's not as bad as they thought it was going to be. We asked when classes canceled if online learning is an option, and the district says at this point they really just don't want to go back to that.
Virtual was a part of our COVID contingency plans when we had weather, especially during those transitional years in 2021. However, as we're getting more into the swing of things, we want to make sure that our snow days remain snow days, and that we're giving those kids a break, but also making sure that we're encouraging our in-person learning so we can catch up on all that valuable education that we missed out on over the past few years.
The big picture part, right? We've talked about this before. Across the state, 4th and 8th graders are showing signs of regression in math, a little bit of a decline in reading proficiency, and after the height of the pandemic. And I was talking to a whole bunch of districts and said one of the big things, Kyle, they're so excited about is being back in person to regain some of that ground. Of course, there's a whole bunch of different measures, but that's the one thing that they were really looking forward to. Understand that teachers don't want to give up a day of education, especially when they feel like kids are behind.
fine.
Right.
But man, I remember talking about this last one. It's just so sad when it's like, hey kids, beautiful snow day, plop yourself at your laptop.
I know, right? I mean, and that was the other thing. It's like snow days are fun. Kids are rooting for them and they want that to stick around. Just because they were online learning for a while doesn't mean that, you know, when we have a snow day now, they're going to actually get it.
Yep. So one snow day in DPS. If there's a second day, there's not going to be a second day tomorrow, but when there's a second day, then it's on to virtual. All right, Anusha, thank you. Denver's rec center and library warming centers opened up due to the inclement weather were closed due to the inclement weather. All right. City planned to have those spaces open for people who needed a place to get out of the cold, even if it's just like you're waiting for a bus and you've got to warm up. But then those buildings were closed today when they said city staff didn't need to report. City did open the warming center at the McNichols building, which will be available through Friday morning, and Denver's planning to reopen its rec centers and libraries tomorrow. A Next viewer reached out this morning to say that she's scared of being ticketed for not clearing her sidewalk. She says that she's a senior with disabilities who can't physically do it, and several of the volunteer snow shoveling programs around town said that they couldn't help. She quite literally needed a little help, so I connected her with that nonprofit. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports A Little Help, which assists seniors with snow shoveling in the wintertime, but they do so much more. The nonprofit A Little Help works on the Front Range and northern Colorado and also the western slope to connect volunteers with seniors who could use a hand. So yes, that means snow shoveling on days like today, but it also means transportation to appointments, help with grocery shopping, yard work in the warmer months, and sometimes it just means regular visits to keep somebody company and fight loneliness. So here's where we come in. Of course, if you can sign up to volunteer with them, absolutely terrific. But anybody can pitch in. You can do it from home tonight. A Little Help does a background check on all of its thousands of volunteers. So our donations tonight are going to help cover the program expenses of getting everybody linked up and coordinated, and also the costs associated with finding new volunteers across our state and doing all those background checks so people are safe. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. Your $10 million and counting in microgiving proves that your $5 donations add up fast. So as always, I'll match the first 50 donation of $5 to get us started. Not all of us were in a position to shovel a senior sidewalk today or to get them safely to a doctor's appointment tomorrow, but we can help expand the effort that's already doing that all over our state. Figuring out who's supposed to clear the snow from bus stops is a bureaucratic mess.
An agency points to another jurisdiction, like a city or a state, and then that jurisdiction might point to another.
Some of our neighbors aren't waiting for an official solution, they're doing it on their own. And we'll ride around town, see how people got around today. The answer is, any way they could. And a lot of them seem to love it. That's next. Nonprofit hospitals, of course, don't have to pay taxes. And in return, they're expected to invest money in the communities they serve. Democratic Governor Jared Polis really lit them up in this week's State of the State address, accusing some of the largest nonprofit hospitals of hoarding money and overcharging patients. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger got a hold of a new financial report out today.
Just like your personal savings account, hospitals have a reserve account meant for a rainy day, or should we say snowy day. The state's Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing, known simply as HCPF, released a few reports today that appear to defend the governor's criticism of nonprofit hospitals saving too much money and not giving patients relief.
We applaud hospitals that are on solid financial ground. It's when the reserves are excessive that represents overcharging of communities, businesses, and families who should not be paying excessive prices.
HCPF's director, Kim Bimsteffer, pointed out an example of what the state believes is excessive saving. In 2021, UC Health, a nonprofit hospital, had 469 days worth of savings.
There is no credible advisor that would say 469 days on hand is the right amount of days. That's excessive. And that represents individuals, communities, and families that were overcharged for services, and that's the behavior that has to stop.
A UC Health spokesman said today those savings are down to 308 days.
All hospitals in Colorado, regardless of how stable they might have been in the past few years, are now faced with a really uncertain environment.
Jeff Tiemann is the CEO of the Colorado Hospital Association and points out the data provided by the state is historical from more than a year ago and does not take into account inflation, higher expenses, and workforce shortages.
I think it's important to make sure we're looking at where we are now, versus where we've been.
A recent report from the Colorado Hospital Association shows collectively hospitals spent $1.6 billion for the community's benefit in 2020. Think of community benefit as how nonprofit hospitals make good for not paying taxes. The bulk of the $1.6 billion was on free and reduced health care and care that was not reimbursed. The state is seeking more accountability. Are hospitals providing what the communities they serve are asking for?
Think of what tax dollars might go towards. They might go towards helping people with housing, might go towards food insecurity.
I hear about increased reporting and transparency requirements. We're open to learning what those might look like, but think that there's a lot of that in place now.
Hey, look who got to work from home today. If you've ever looked at your hospital bill or medical bill, you understand this is not a very easy to understand topic. The state wants hospitals to lower their reserves, reduce prices for everybody, and they want some sort of accountability that state lawmakers would have to pass as a bill to put more onus on these hospital organizations. And Kyle, I was told by the Hospital Association, there have been 17, by their count, recent policy changes, and they want to see those policy changes in action first before the state comes back and says, hey, let's do 18, 19, and 20 now.
17, that's a lot. That's almost as many Emmys as you've got behind you there. Marshall, thank you. Last two snowstorms have highlighted the challenges of clearing roads and reminded us, especially the whole, buck up, you can drive in 6 inches of snow crowd, that there are also people who walk or bike or roll around our streets, and clear sidewalks are a necessity. We depend on individual property owners to do that clearing, but figuring out who's responsible for clearing Denver's bus stops is a real confusing mess. Accessibility advocates say that they're concerned about bus stops like, say, this one, 17th Avenue. So shelter itself is clear, that's good, but there's snow and ice all around the thing. So that stop is one of less than 300 stops that RTD says it is responsible for maintaining. That's 300 out of thousands of bus stops across RTD's territory.
Just got to think as if you're in a wheelchair. The buses have the ramps. I think we've all seen somebody coming off a bus with that ramp. That fold-out ramp deposits them, 4 or 5 feet into the pavement, and then they need to. And then, as a wheelchair user, you then need to be able to perform a 90-degree turn. So that's why we need this space.
While ADA standards include the adjacent property, right, not just the bus stop or the bus shelter, who is responsible for those components can get really, really muddled.
So you can report an accessibility issue that you see at a bus stop to RTD or to your local government, but that obviously takes time, might not get a resolution. So that's why there are transportation advocates who are coordinating volunteer efforts to go out and clear the stops themselves.
Well, as most of that storm continues to push its way to the east, we are still seeing some lingering snow showers. But in the meantime, I have some snow reports that have come in. And again, this is so far as we are waiting for a little bit more snow to push on out. So Elizabeth out in the plains got a foot of snow. We saw 10.5 in Iliff. Parker got over 8.5 in DIA. We saw over 8.5 as well. Just over 8 in Bennett, 7.5 in Loveland. Denver and Erie reporting 6.5 inches of snowfall. Just under 6.5 in Greeley. And you can see 6.2 in Broomfield. Boulder maxing out at just over 5.5 inches of snowfall. So some of these areas still getting some lingering snow showers. So those snow totals are just for so far. In the meantime, we're still seeing some light snow showers at DIA. 27 degrees. It feels closer to 22 out there with winds coming in from the north at around 5 miles per hour. As we take a look at our HD Doppler radar, you can see the majority of this system has pushed its way eastward, leading a trail of storms behind it. Of course, snow throughout Nebraska and into Iowa, and then you can see those rain showers curving their way down into Louisiana here. But as we take a closer look into Colorado, this is where we're just going to watch for these lingering snow showers across portions of the Front Range and Plains to push their way out later this evening. So we do still have a few remaining winter weather alerts. The northeastern corner of the state will be under this winter storm warning until 11 o'clock. Byers and Lyman will expire at 8 o'clock. And then to the south in Cheyenne County, we do have a winter weather advisory lingering until 11 o'clock. Now, most of these areas could expect maybe 1 to 3 inches of additional snowfall. Those winds gusting between 30 to 45 miles per hour. So you're going to watch for that blowing snow and hazardous travel across the northern plains. For the rest of us, we'll see clearing skies tonight. Overnight lows near 13 degrees. Those winds will be pretty calm, so that'll help us out a bit. Tomorrow, we get to start the day with some sunshine, but temperatures will stay below average. We'll be maxing out in the middle to upper 30s, so a chilly afternoon ahead. Friday, we're expecting some evening to afternoon snow. Most of the heavier stuff will fall across the southern plains this time. And then as we make our way into the weekend, we dry out Saturday, and then we watch for more snow showers going into Sunday.
The snow brings out the creativity in people trying to get from here to there.
This is my joy coming out here. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it makes me happy.
Hope you got to stay home today. And if you got out, hope you had a great time doing it. That's next. Here at 9 News, we've been using our news vehicles and live trucks to bring you reports for decades. Not nearly as efficient as the first ever Next Fat Bike report. Photojournalist Mike Grady hopped on his preferred way to get around in the snow to see how other people were doing it.
Now, I don't know about you, but when the roads are gross, I'd rather just find another way around. That's me, cruising my fat tire bike, looking for other people who know the joys of avoiding automobiles on snowy days.
Well, look at your bike. That's terrific.
People like Barbara, who opted for snowshoes to get around Wash Park today.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's very soft and a little bit wet.
Cheers. And Vince, who took some fiery fuel walking home from work.
Good stuff. It was a trek in this morning. It's nice and quiet. That's the thing. Like, the snow brings quiet.
Riding the Fatty certainly works for me, but it's not for everyone.
I don't feel confident on a bike.
Jeff runs on pure dog power.
I got him strapped to my belt. If a squirrel comes along, I'm kind of in rough shape.
I also bumped into Jody using her XC skis to get to the rec center.
This is my joy coming out here. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it makes me happy.
She wishes the roads were even sloppier.
I love that Denver doesn't plow streets. People don't like that, but that's my way of getting to the park.
If only every assignment called for fresh tracks in the snow.
I'm glad you're having fun working this way, too.
Me too, Barbara. Me too. For Next, I'm Mike Grady.
Fireball free, Mike Grady. Your feedback next. My thanks to anybody who cleared a sidewalk or a driveway for a neighbor today, and double thanks if you helped an older Coloradan. This week's Word of Thanks Microgiving campaign supports a nonprofit that does that every day all over our state. A Little Help serves seniors on the Front Range, northern Colorado, and the western slope. Their volunteers shovel snow on days like today, and all year they're providing rides to doctor's appointments, help with grocery shopping, yard work, and even sometimes just a visit to talk to keep our neighbors company. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other people in supporting the work of A Little Help. Want to update something I said earlier to Anusha about Denver Public Schools snow day policy? So DPS is saying now that they're going to stick with real snow days, not virtual learning, if they cancel school for a second day. I had originally said they'd go remote for day 2, and that was what DPS originally told us, but they've updated their guidance saying that they will not be transitioning to remote learning for a day 2. Molly writes in to say, A Little Help is a phenomenal organization I have been lucky enough to volunteer with. Thank you for supporting them. She's talking to you, by the way, on that. We got a lot of anonymous bro feedback about school days, about snow days today. This guy says, used to take 18 inches to cancel school. We legalize weed, get soft. We don't go to school and the rest of the world keeps on working. If only there was a legal substance that could help that guy chill out. See you next time.